Hello and welcome to Kitten Butt Unleashed. If you're going into this show, please be aware that there is cursing and adult material. Not in every episode, but it may occur. So, if you're okay with that stuff, keep watching. If you're not, turn right around and have a nice day. Card, because I had turned 18 shortly after and needed my social security card, and my grandma had all of that information for me because, guardian. So I ended up getting the job, and they told me how it worked, which is basically you gather the phone numbers of like friends and family that you can sell to, and then you're supposed to get phone numbers and leads from those people and then keep going on. And I said, wow, this is complicated and a little weird and uncomfortable, but I guess I can do this because it's a job, right? I got a job. That's fine. This is my first job. It's no big deal, right? But it was totally a horrible big deal. So they sold us the knife kit, which was almost $200, I think. And it came with these scissors that I was really impressed with, and I'm still kind of impressed with, just because you could like snap them apart in the center and wash them individually, which was really nice and cool to be able to wash kitchen shears. But the thing that they sold me on, and they said that it was a big seller as well to sell these things, was that it could cut pennies. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. The biggest selling point of this whole knife set was the scissors that could cut pennies, and I cut so many pennies. And my grandma didn't want me to cut the pennies because you're cutting money and that's illegal. But she was still kind of conflicted about it because she was like, well, I mean, pennies are kind of useless. And it was the start of pennies sort of being phased out. I don't know if the U.S. probably still has pennies, obviously, for whatever reason. I haven't been there in 10 years. But yeah, so I was cutting a lot of pennies just for funsies, because it was a cool thing to see a pair of scissors cut some pennies. And we got this knife kit, and it came with a bunch of knives. I think there was like 8 or 10 knives or something. I used my grandma's friends because obviously my friends, any friends that I had, were going to be 18. So it's like, oh, come on. And I didn't think at the time, hey, let me ask your parents for me to sell to them, because for one thing, I didn't have a lot of friends. And for another thing, why would I think to ask my other 17 and 18-year-old friends to speak with their parents to sell them knives? Because I didn't have a killer instinct as a salesperson, because I'm not a salesperson at all, obviously. But I tried my best, like one does, and I went on a couple of sales pitches or whatever, presentations. I did a couple of presentations for all of my grandma's friends, and they were all impressed only because, oh, look how cute she is what they would say. Oh, look how cute she is, little 18-year-old. Oh, she seems like a go-getter and a self-starter. I mean, I guess it's sweet for people who are like in their 60s, 50s and 60s, to see this 18-year-old being a salesperson. And I guess in their day, being a salesperson was a go-getter thing. And even though it had turned into nothing but multi-level marketing and or being a salesperson at like the mall or something, selling chocolate or something, So I sold to her list, which was pretty short. And then I had asked my mother if I could make a presentation for her boss, and she said yeah. So we set up a presentation for him as well, and I was sitting there, and he listened to my presentation, and he seemed really nice about it. And like, oh, again, another one of those, oh, she's so cute, we're so proud of her, how cute to be a little go-getter and a salesperson. And he told me at the time that, oh, she's going to be the next Trump. At 18, I had no idea who Donald Trump was. And now that I know, oh man, it's so long ago that people still believe that Donald Trump was a good businessman. And that was just, that was horrible. And I even asked my mother, who is Donald Trump? And she said, oh, he's a businessman. He's saying you're going to be a really successful business person, even if I don't end up selling a lot of knives. I'm like, that's nice, because I don't remember him buying any knives. But he just said, thank you for the presentation. And then I was pretty pleased with that. I'm like, oh, yay, that was great. And then I did also try to remember to ask for leads after every meeting, because putting the whole presentation on was a whole thing anyways, because at the time, obviously, I didn't know that I was autistic, but like I did have a script from the CUTCO company that they gave me to rehearse. And so I sold like that. And I had already been in drama class. So I thought, oh, this is fine. I know how to do a script. And then I wouldn't know how to conversate after that. So it was a terrible salesperson, because I just didn't know how to combat any questions beyond the scripted questions. So I didn't end up selling a lot of knives. And then the people that I did sell the knife sets to, about a week or so after I had ended up quitting this job, were calling my grandma and having complaints like, oh, can she replace this or anything? Can she, give us our money back? And we were also given a script for that of, if they ask that, direct them to this number, which was like the manufacturing number. And that was a nice little escape, but also so unethical and horrible, which is why I hate MLMs. And I will warn everybody and anybody away from taking any job that has to do with sales in general, especially if they're not that adept at talking to people and selling them on things. But also definitely do not do it for MLMs, because basically you have to buy the product to sell the product. You have to have a built-in audience to market to, and it was absolutely not for me. MLMs are horrible, and if you comment anywhere to me that you're part of an MLM and you believe in it, I'm going to delete you. I might screen cap you and make fun of you, but I'm definitely going to delete you, because we're not going to have any of that MLM promotion here. We're not going to have any of that to anyone ever. Absolutely not. So I did sell a couple of sets to my grandma's friends and might have gotten a couple leads or two, but then I couldn't make any more phone calls anymore to people asking them if I could sell them knives. The list was short, and some of them said no. And with rejection sensitivity, it was just like, okay, that's fine. Because apparently I didn't know this at the time, but I guess it's fairly obvious for salespeople to make sure that a no is not a no, which is also something I really don't like because of coercion, things like that. So I didn't get that, and I ran out of people to sell to, and it was horrible. And I think I only lasted a month at this job, or maybe 2. And there was one social event that I got invited to and was expected to go to, even though I really didn't want to. And I remember telling my grandma, please don't make me go. And she said, oh, but it's good for your job. You got to go and do these things and socialize. And this is how you get better at your job and promote promotions and stuff. I'm like, this sucks. This is awful. And I don't remember getting told that it was a pool party, but I showed up and it was like the regional manager person that hired me as her party in her house. And there was a couple other people that had gotten hired, but I hadn't even met yet until this one social event. And then she stripped down to her bathing suit and like, it was a pool party barbecue all of a sudden. And I was like, wow, I absolutely hate this. Can I use your phone? Because I need to go home. And I immediately called my grandma and I was like, okay, I can't do this. It's a social party. It's a swimming party as well. It's a swimming party. And like, I don't have my swimsuit. And even if I did, I'm not going to strip down to a swimsuit in front of a bunch of strangers that I've just met this day. It's not going to work. So Brianna picked me up and I talked to her that evening and I said, I got to quit. This is not for me. And she's like, well, okay, I guess that's just how it's going to be. You're just going to have to find a different job and or go to college. So I ended up looking to go into college instead, which was a much better idea, even though like what I started college with was not a good idea. So I quit that job and I thought that we'd be able to use the knives in the kitchen because we couldn't give them back. Like they wouldn't take a return. The Cutco company would not take the knife set back, even though we had used them on nothing but the demonstrations of penny cutting. So my grandmother was okay with keeping the scissors, especially since they were about 30 or 40 bucks or something like back then. But they wouldn't take the knives, and she was so mad that they wouldn't take them and give a refund, as well as nobody was allowed to use them. So she hid them away, and I don't know what happened to them, and I'm pretty sure that my uncle might have pawned them somewhere and somebody got this money, but I surely never got any of this money. I think I made a grand total of a couple $100 selling these weird knife things. So I had a little spending money, woohoo, and I probably just went to get some fast food with my sister or something, and probably some drawing things. But those knives never seen the light of day. I think I got to keep the scissors. I might not have gotten to keep the scissors, but I was only cutting pennies anyways. The biggest straw, cutting pennies. And I wonder now if any other kitchen shears can cut pennies. And I really don't want to chance it with the one pair of kitchen shears that we have now. They don't come apart. And I was still to this day, 20 something years later, impressed that these scissors came apart and were dishwasher safe, because that's freaking brilliant. You know, like the kitchen scissors that I have now, we cut like green onions with them, and like I cut meat and whatever else and stuff, but you can't like disconnect them unless you unscrew it properly, and you can wash them separately. And it's not like I can sharpen them or anything like that like I could the Cutco scissors, which again I'm still super impressed with. And well, they're gone forever, and I quit that job as quickly as I could. I don't remember formally quitting, but I'm pretty sure I wrote an email saying that I couldn't work there anymore, and I got my final remittance paycheck thingy, and that was like the end of it. And they wouldn't take the knives back, and that was the end of that. And through that whole thing, I realized that I am a terrible salesperson, especially a one-on-one salesperson, where you have to have like a list of people to sell to and then ask for more leads, but then also sell the product and know that you're not supposed to take a no, and coerce people into buying these things, and then also get complaints back personally about the products being faulty, and knowing that it's not personally your fault, but you still sold them a bad thing. And that was such a hit on my self-esteem, because I just didn't want to be part of selling things that didn't work, that broke, that were overpriced. And just selling in general just feels like horrible coercion, and I don't want to sell anybody anything at all. Making suggestions is one thing. So influencers, you're fine. In fact, I've probably bought a bunch of things due to influencers, makeup influencers and things like that, like the graphic eyeliner that I wear a lot of the time. I do end up wearing a lot more makeup because they demonstrate how the products work, and other things that are big selling points to me and stuff. So influencer, you're fine. Like you're not like selling me a thing, not directly. So I'm a little bit okay with that, you know. But I can't be like a salesperson, and I avoided those kind of jobs forever. I don't think I ever was a salesperson again, ever, really. And like sometimes places would do things like, oh, you need to upsell, so like, you know, you're selling coffee and whatever, and you got to like upsell donuts and upsell cookies and whatever else, and that was awkward enough, and I didn't do it at all, the upselling either, because like I can't. That part of socialing is just not for me. And I'm just so glad that I will never apply for a sales job. But it is to make a point. I mean, I could be better at marketing and selling my own work and my own art, which is what I'm trying to do by talking about my videos and actually not just doing the work, but talking about my work. And obviously, I feel like a lot of us artists have a huge problem with that. We do the work and then we just expect it to be like, okay, I put it out there and that should be enough. But it's not, especially if you're a freelance person running around just being a little feral artist like I am, just making comics and then just posting them. Maybe with one or two tags and be like, here you go, read it. But I'm not actually telling people like why they should read it. So I am working on my marketing skills, which kind of falls under sales, but at least I'm selling myself, which I believe a lot more in than some cheap ass knives and or makeup or sex toys or like just any MLM is awful. Don't join it. Just go work at a fast food place. Go work at a Wendy's, okay, or a Dollarama or something, because at least you'll be getting paid for your hours and you probably don't have to sell as hard. Oh, actually, come to think about it, I did interview for one other MLM once, but I got tricked into it because this person heard that I was job searching and said, oh, I hear this place is hiring. And I'm like, oh, I guess, maybe. And they're like, yeah, my friend just got a job there. Maybe you can interview. And she gave me the phone number and I believed her, even though, you know, she actually turned out to be not a nice person, but that's yet another story for another time. Or maybe I'll just leave it to my comics and everybody will know that I write my comics about all the stuff that happens in my life, so you're not safe. Anyways, I got the phone number from her. I called. They said, yeah, sure, come for an interview. I went for an interview, and it was another one of those weird situations where it was like a boardroom sort of meeting room thing, and they were showing a video of kind of what they were selling, which was super vague because it wasn't a product and it wasn't quite a lifestyle. People sitting down watching a video about stuff, and there was a lady and she took me over to some chairs and decided to interview me and was trying to like sell me ish on this thing, but I was so confused. And I was like, okay, so what exactly are we selling? And she kept getting so frustrated with me asking, so what exactly are we selling? I'm not exactly sure what the product is. What exactly are we doing here? And then she flat out closed her book and said, you know what? I don't think that you're going to be a fit for this. And I'm like, oh, why? What happened? And she said, you know, you're asking too many questions. And I said, I'm sorry, what? She's like, anyways, I don't think you're going to be a fit. Thank you so much for showing up and have a nice day. She basically pushed me out of the door, like, get out of here because you're asking too many questions and you're not the right moldable type of person to work in what honestly felt like the weird cult episode in The Simpsons where Homer goes to like this cult room or whatever, and it's like some people sitting watching a video, and it's like, watch a free video, and we'll like give you food after or whatever. And they're like, okay, and if you're gonna leave, you have to tell us why. And everybody's just sitting there. There's staggered seating because there's not like a lot of people. And then like somebody gets up and they put a spotlight on them, and they're like, hi, yes, you, where do you think you're going? And he's all like, I'm going to the bathroom. And he's like, oh, but why? We need to know exactly like why you're standing up and going to the bathroom. And so like they make the person sit down, and every person that gets up, they put a spotlight on to shame them into sitting there for the entire presentation, to brainwash them into going into this cult. And that's exactly what that last job felt like, because again, there was like a sort of maybe 10 rows of like 6 or 7 chairs or whatever, and this projector screen, and some people were watching, but there was not like a lot of people in the seats. And after that lady telling me that I was asking too many questions, and that whole situation, looking at it in retrospect, it does feel like it was probably a cult and not just an MLM, even though a lot of MLMs are cults. So obviously I dodged a bullet there, and I have to wonder if that person who gave me the phone number was genuinely thinking, oh yeah, she's going to get taken into this cult, or also I'm going to waste her time and send her to this place that's going to definitely interview her and not give her this job. Either way, MLMs are bad. Pyramid schemes, they can call them whatever they want. They're cults that sell stuff that drag you down and suck you dry of all of your money, your friends, and your livelihood. So the moral of this story of my first job is don't interview for MLMs at all. They may even call themselves something else, but the way that you can tell what an MLM is that they have a product that they want you to sell, but then also you have to buy said product to sell said product, and then you make commission off of said product, and you also have to have a follower base to sell to. So don't do it, kids. Don't do it. Anyways, thank you so much for sticking around to listen to my story about my first job and watch me draw my first character, by the way, for my very first long form comic. In fact, I think this might have been the first comic original character that I had ever made ever in my life anyways. And his name is Leo, and he started off as a girl, and I don't remember what her name was. And so he started off as a girl he started off as a he that could turn into a she. If you didn't know, I'm non-binary, which falls under the trans umbrella. So of course I've got interest in things like that. And, like when you're 16, 17, 18 and you're making characters you might not know right at the time, or at least I didn't back then. And a lot of people back then also did not know who they were and how they felt, and exploring things through art. So he started off as a girl that was originally a boy that could turn into a magical girl. And there's a lot of baggage for that I read about in many comic stories. So this has been about my first job, my first original character, and my first comic ever. And I'll be drawing the chibi character sheets for them. And I already have 20 pages up that you guys can read over on Webtoons, but I may or may not take it down or keep it up there. Either way, at some point, I'm going to have my own individual site where I post the comic, just because there's going to be some NSFW pages in it. It's not going to be that long form of a story, but I want at least 3 graphic novel series of it, 200 to 300 pages each. Yes, I know, quite a lofty goal, or at least small in the eyes of people who make long form comics. But like, this is gonna be my first long form comic, and this is me trying to force myself to actually get it done by drawing the characters and recording myself drawing these characters. And I hope that you guys enjoy my comics and enjoy my stories, because I'm having a good time doing both, drawing and talking and making shows on it and documenting it and talking about my life, because I don't know, I just think it's fun. It's a cool thing to do. So anyways, thank you for watching, and see you in my next episode. I'm not sure when I will be doing that, but I do have the stuff recorded for part of it. Anyways, and then, check me out on Twitter and Instagram and Coffee, and go ahead and support me there, and look for polls where you could be the person to tell me what my next video subject is. Until then, bye-bye.